All right, and we're back. So we opened up the season with Jukebox holding it down with the rest of the fellas, putting in that work and boot camp. We also have a press conference where they're talking about what happened to Detective Howard and how that opens up questions. You hear a lot of reporters asking about how it's somehow related to Detective Burke. Now, you know, Detective Howard ended up shooting the female cop, Detective Burke, back in season 3. So now this is starting to raise questions as to if his murder has anything or any relation to what happened to her. And of course, at this point, they're all putting it off on foreign nationals, and somehow he got involved. They, just trying to clear the name of any fraudulent or any kind of underhand activity happening with the police. So that's opening up questions there. And what that also does is it puts a bookmark on Marvin's involvement, because Detective Burke was actually beginning to get closer and closer to the inner actions of what was going on to Rock, Marvin, Lou, and Detective Kanan. So she was already catching wind of what that was, and that's why Detective Howard took her out in the first place. Meanwhile, Unique is still running around the city trying to put the pieces of his life together. He ends up going to his old apartment, and as he sees that it's vacant, nobody's there, the house is no longer a home. So, and the only thing that's there is, ironically, the pieces to a chessboard. Well, I'm not going to say that's the only thing that's there, but symbolically, his life is falling apart, the game is falling apart, and so are the pieces to his chessboard. So he kind of has a moment there. He's also continuing to find out where his girlfriend went, and he finds her at another spot somewhere, and she's struggling, trying to do everything on her own. And as you can see, she has her little push cart of groceries or clothing, whatever it is that she's trying to pull into the house, and she's kind of just doing it on her own. So at this point, he's kind of reflecting on wishing that he could be there to help her, and if he wasn't involved with Rock, I'm sure that she would never be in this situation, and how he wished he could be the man for her that she needed, and she wouldn't have to be struggling like this on her own. So you can see him reflecting, having some sense of guilt, and of course that still continued to play on his psyche. Meanwhile, Kanan is at his apartment chopping it up with one of his employees, if you will, and they're talking about the product. They need more product moving fast. They need more money. Things need to get moving. You need to make something shake. You need to make something happen because it's moving too fast. So of course, what that makes him have to do, which is he needs to go to Rock, and that he's really not trying to do that, but he got to do what he got to do. In steps his girlfriend, Crystal, and out goes the employee. We come to find out in this little scene that we have here that Crystal starts to express her feelings for Kanan. And we see that they do have a deep relationship, and she, reveals that she had an abortion at the request of Kanan, and she really wants a family. So as they begin to start to do what grown folks do, she's telling him, you need to go get some protection because I'm not trying to put myself in that situation again. And of course, he says some old ignorant stuff like, well, I could pull out. Anyway, so of course she's not trying to hear that because, pulling out doesn't work. Clearly, you had her down at the clinic getting abortions and carrying on. And he talking about something, well, I paid for it. Don't nobody want to hear all that. Go get what you need to get and let's go. So then that opens up a whole nother argument with, her expressing her love for him. And of course, she wants to have a more significant relationship with him, but she knows that he's still out in the streets playing around, and he's doing the same thing that fools do. So she ain't got time for that. She's out. That takes us to Lou. Meanwhile, Lou is just now being released from his rehab. And Marvin is there to pick him up and take him home and get his life back together. On their way home, Marvin is giving him the rundown of what's been going on while he's been in recovery, if you will, and getting his therapy. Lou has had some time to reflect and, work on trying to change his life because, Marvin and Lou are really trying to get from up under rock. So, they both have their different visions and their ideas of how they plan on doing that. So anyway, Marvin is telling him that your boy Famous, streets need a body, 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 is out on the run. And he's wanted by the police because they want him to snitch. In the beginning, as you've seen, he did literally catch a body and the police caught him. And now, in order to get himself out of a jam, he may need to snitch, which, that puts him in a bad situation. So somehow, Famous has gone AWOL like jukebox. Okay? So, Marvin's telling him, giving him the rundown on what's going on with that. They exchanged their pleasantries and brotherly love and support for each other. Lou continues to express his love and support for Marvin. Meanwhile, Marvin is, not really holding on to that because he's been burnt a little bit before with trusting and loving and caring and giving. And that just hasn't worked out for him. So he's a little jaded. We could say that he's a little jaded behind that. Also, once he's dropped off at the house, I guess, he walks into his apartment and it is in shambles. He needs some cleaning up in his life, in his home, and getting his life together. So as you can see, that scene just reflects him cleaning up his life, getting his life together, and trying to move on to do better things. So the next day, I'm assuming he has an appointment with this record executive, Lowell, who really wants him to head up one of his hip hop divisions. And so based on what he's done for Famous to make him so famous and get him popping, he wants to make some money with him, and hopefully you'll be able to get my hip hop division popping as well. So Lou goes ahead and says, I'm willing to do that, but for one thing, I really want to get your boy B-Rilla. Now, B-Rilla is kind of a problem child to Lowell because he's not really making any money. He's actually costing money. He's in and out of jail. He's not really a good look. But if you can do something with him, by all means, if that's going to get you on my team to make me some money, then I'm in full support. So Lowell goes ahead and he makes Lou a proposition or a promise that if he can be responsible for B-Rilla and do the same thing for B-Rilla that he did for Famous and make him money, then he would be in full support of him. But one thing is, B-Rilla is locked up. So Lou ends up catching him in the visitation room. We see B-Rilla come out for visitation. And of course, I'm getting the vibe that B-Rilla is kind of willing to say and do anything to get out. So he might be the problem child that Lowell is talking about. But nonetheless, they exchange words. They get down to business. Lou seems to think that he understands B-Rilla's background because they're kind of in the same business on the low, and says, I'll promise you your ticket out of here if you promise me that you can make some money. And of course, B-Rilla agrees. So we will see where that takes us, shall we? Now, we have the walls beginning to tighten up on Marvin. We have Detective Garcian, who is meeting with Captain Baptiste. And Captain Baptiste is, of course, he was responsible for allowing Detective Howard for, having free reign and kind of keeping his secrets and allowing him to do what he wanted to do to try to get to the bottom of this whole drug empire that's going on and who killed Detective Burke and all this kind of stuff like that. So after he realizes that Detective Howard may have put them all in a jam and now he's 6 feet deep, this might be tightening up on him. So he puts Garcian on the job to get to the bottom of who killed Howard, because whoever killed Howard is still out there and they need to get him, because at this point, if the walls keep tightening up, he's going to be on his way out to an early retirement, and it ain't going to be voluntary. So he goes out, he hits the streets, and he's trying to find out where Kanan is, get some answers, who's doing what, where it's shaking. They need to get to the bottom of things. He runs up on Kanan. Kanan don't know where Famous at. Don't nobody know where Famous at. I hope Famous is all right wherever he is. So Garcian lets it be known that the investigation is still on. In spite of what the news has said, they are still looking for whoever had something to do with Howard's murder. And they possibly think that it could still be the person who tried to kill Howard earlier last season. And you know who that was. So things are starting to unravel already early. Meanwhile, Marvin is still being the enforcer that he is, and he's meeting, and he has a meeting with Stefano. Stefano is so pleased with the work that he did with his son-in-law Tomas, because Tomas and his daughter are now expecting a child. So things are all great and gravy. Things are moving kind of fast, don't you think? Just a little bit. Anywho, so Stefano has another job for him, and Stefano wants him to talk to one of his other associates that is bringing him in money, who seems to be feeling himself a little bit too much. Pants are starting to get a little big for his britches. So he puts Marvin on the job to go pump some fear in him and pull off another Tomas, if you will. So, another day at work for Marvin. Marvin stops by the Chinese drug spot to check and see what's shaking. Just a little scene there where there might be some indication that some other sideways business is going on in the shop, because he catches nephew trying to sneak a few bags for selling, using, who knows. But he almost died. So, needless to say, there's some surveillance that needs to be had at the China spot before Chicken Egg Foo Young ends up getting himself murdered. So the next stop is the bar. There's a bar where his next victim is Stefano's employee that needs some talking to. Marvin's there to do the job. And at first it seems like Marvin is there to basically be their reinforcement, straighten them out verbally, shake them up a little bit physically. However, this man affects Marvin's pride a little bit and says some things that kind of gets Marvin rattled up as far as him taking answers from the white man. He's just a step and fetch it, and you ain't never gonna be nothing, all this other kind of stuff like that. And Marvin is not playing that. So Marvin took it to the next level up and went ahead and took him on out. Now, let's keep in mind that Stefano specifically asked him not to kill him. He wanted just to put some fear in him. So we will see where this goes. That leads us into later on that afternoon. He's actually on the phone with Stefano. And Stefano's like trying to figure out what is going on. I told you to shake it up a little bit. I didn't tell you to take him out. So we can hear that Marvin is just basically trying to, settle it. And saying, hey, you know what, he wasn't really all that anyway. He wasn't making you any money. There's plenty of guys out there that can do that. But mind you, this was Stefano's major breadwinner. He was bringing the most money in, so that probably affected his pockets. However, that conversation gets cut short. So we don't really know where that ended up because Jukebox is home. Jukebox, what are you doing here? Well, she went AWOL. She gone. She left. She decided that the army was not for her. She cannot be all she can be in the army. And as we seen earlier in the episode, I believe it was last season, that the army back then, they were more conservative. They weren't really for any of the kids, any of the those in the lifestyle. LGBTQ friendly, they were not. So she felt like she couldn't be her. We seen that she skipped boot camp that day, hopped her butt on a bus, and traveled her way on down to Spelman College to find her boo, which she did. They had a beautiful afternoon of love and exchanging I miss yous and reminiscing and planning and things of that nature. And Jukebox thought that she was going to be able to rekindle that love relationship and try to stay on campus with her. But she was like, you went out trying to find yourself, and a lot has happened, and now I'm trying to find myself. So they put a bookmark in their little relationship, and I guess they're okay with it, or at least Jukebox may be okay with it. She never said that she didn't want a relationship, and she was very accepting to the fact that I understand you want to go ahead and do you, but she took her butt back to New York, and she is back at square one, unfortunately. Now we have, where are we? We are, Rock. Now, Rock had a very small part in this season. We just know that, she's still trying to connect with Kanan. Kanan is being a kid, a child. He got all this beef for his mama. Don't want to talk to her. Don't mess with her, nothing like that. But you don't have no problem coming in my house, using my water, my washer, my dryer, my detergent. Anyway, that's besides the point. They start exchanging business. He lets her know that I need more product. Businesses, we need some stuff. We need some money. We need to get things going. She's like, well, maybe we could take a look at the books. And he's like, I can handle my books. Stay out my business. Just let me know when you got more stuff. Thank you. Thank you kindly. So Rock goes to meet her Asian connect, and he ends up letting her know that he is going up on the prices like tariffs. And she is shocked and appalled and surprised. Like, you cannot do that. And he said, I can and I will. Be gone. So she's upset about this. She goes to see Stefano. She tells Stefano, you need to do something about this. You need to be the connect, or you need to do something about him, because this is affecting my business. I can't afford to pay these rates. I don't know what's going on. I thought this was your boy. I thought he was going to be the main man. And if he ain't, you need to step up and do something. So they kind of have like this exchange. He gives it a thought, and we see that he might be introduced as a new connect at some point, but we see that there may be some strings attached with that. So there goes that. Also, her and Kanan go meet Snaps and Pop. And I guess they must have like a check-in or something, and they go and turn in their work, their money, or whatever it is they got to do to count, or whatever you call that doing. And business is good with Rock, but not so much with Kanan. Kanan's cut is getting cut short because he had a faulty deal that he set up with Ronnie, or at least Ronnie had a deal that he couldn't make good with because Ronnie gone now. And somebody got a hold Ronnie's weight. And since you, Kanan, were his business partner, it looks like it's going to be you. Of course, Kanan's like, I didn't have nothing to do with that. Why are you punishing me for something that you had with him? I was doing good without him. I was just here to help him out. And that ain't flying. At the end of the day, Snaps and Pop was pretty much like, your loyalty is null and void. So we can't trust you. You out here turning your back on your mama. You're not loyal to her. You're out here doing business with Ronnie. You can't keep things straight on the straight and now. We just can't trust you. So we want our money off top. So that's just what it is. Unfortunately, you got to do what you got to do to get the rest of this money, or that's on you. So what you going to do? Rock lets Kanan know that he needs to get his act together. He can't be coming at Snaps and Pop in the way that he did, trying to stand up for himself, because that's how bodies get dropped, and famous will be somebody rapping about you. Or you will be famous at somewhere lost in the sauce. So she lets him know that, it's better to do business with me than without me. But Kanan's not here for it. However, she makes a lightweight threat, letting him know that, hey, I can trust a son that doesn't trust me or that doesn't talk to me, but I can't trust a business partner that ain't keeping it honest or letting me know what's going on. So if we're going to do business like we said, and how you trying to keep it, the type of time that you're trying to be on, we can treat this like a business, or we can treat it like family. Of course, Kanan is still being Kanan, trying to be his own man, and doesn't take heed to the slight warning, as you can say. Okay? Later on that evening, Rock is with her attorney, and they're having dinner at some small little cafe. And the attorney's just basically giving her the rundown that the police want her to snitch. The police need her. She can save herself by doing so, which probably means she's going to have to end up flipping on some of her own family members, i.e. Marvin. And according to the attorney, she and Marvin was supposed to stop dealing with Stefano, but it appears that somehow it got caught wind that both of them were seeing Stefano this weekend, or this week, or whenever they saw them around the same time. And she was acting like it was new news to her, which it was. She didn't know, but she wasn't going to let the attorney know that. So now that's kind of giving her an idea that, maybe Marvin is out here doing some old funny stuff. And, she got her thumb on Lou and Marvin and Kanan's neck. So that's kind of giving her clues that she need to go check up on Marvin and see what kind of business he's doing, because he's been known to mess up inadvertently trying to be his own man. And we see that he probably established that in this episode by taking out old boy at the bar. And now he's going to have some kind of dealings with Stefano. Stefano, is trying to use him as his number one hitman, but he might have some problems stemming from taking out one of his major money makers. To me, I'm thinking either something's gonna happen to Marvin for what he did to the dude in the bar, or he's gonna have to take out the Asian Connect, or possibly Rock. So that's crazy. Meanwhile, Unique is somewhere hiding in the darkness like a crazy, jealous ex-boyfriend, which we know that he is, technically. And he's seeing all of these transactions happening as far as Rock meeting with her attorney at the diner, because he's been probably stalking her all night and watching what she's been doing, where she's been going, and who she's been talking to. And he assumes that, she's getting with the attorney some on the low a little bit. So he ends up stalking the attorney down and taking care of his business. So that leads us to the closing. I know I'm kind of rushing through this, but I'm trying to give y'all bits and pieces of all the information that I can kind of remember based on my notes. But at the closing, we see that everyone's showing up at the club. We see that the club is going to be the meeting spot for everyone. Kanan and his girlfriend rekindled their little lovers quarrel spat, if you will. B-Rilla is out and rapping that gangsta, rah, 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 gangsta, you ain't real, gangsta, rah, 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 gangsta, you ain't real. Okay, so anyway, he's out there performing. Lou's there. He's in the moment. He's feeling good. Drinking water. You won't catch me. I'm not going back to rehab, baby. So, anywho, he's there feeling good, feeling great. The atmosphere is wonderful. The performance is going great. And guess who's there? Lowell. Lowell's there to make good on his promise. So everything is looking on the up and up with B-Rilla. And Lou. On the other hand, we also see the good cinematography and the narrative by the voice of 50 Cent talking about how soldiers are born and trained. And we see in closing that Unique went ahead and followed the bald-headed attorney to his upper class apartment on the Upper East Side, like a scary movie. This man was like Jason somewhere in the background. And he just ran up on the man, and basically, long story short, y'all, the man, the last words he heard from him is, you messing with her, she definitely messing with you, lights out, good night. And that's what he did. So in summary, I thought this was a pretty good continuation to build storyline. There's so many storylines being created, from Jukebox going AWOL. You can't just go AWOL on the military. Her trying to find love and trying to find her place. When she was having the conversation with her girlfriend in the dorm room, is basically trying to find who you are and where your place is in the world. So we see her trying to establish that. She's back at square one. It's like she just can't get out of New York. Anywho, so, and then we have Kanan trying to get his street business off the ground without his mom, but you kind of need your mom. But yet he's still trying to deal with the aftermath of what Ronnie got him connected in when he really didn't. He was innocently drug into it, just trying to make more money. But we see that, and the girlfriend, wanting to have love and all of these things, just dealing with the whole relationship stuff and how that can all be intertwined and kind of mess up a man's street business when they're taking their focus off the game and onto a woman. That can kind of like cause some conflict. In addition, with him dealing with his mom, he really don't want to have to deal with her. Everything is kind of just revolving about Kanan, Marvin, Lou. We want to get from under Rock, but Rock just, she's going to make her way to make sure that they need her and they get used for her best interest. We got Rock out here trying to figure out how to try to keep her business afloat and keep that up and running without being a snitch. Talking to the police, which it seems like eventually she's going to have to do and try to maneuver her way up out of that. Marvin has now put himself in a jam because he's out here being an enforcer and making his block even more hotter than it was before, when all you got to do is lay low, but you still out here trying to be your own man and trying to make things work, but you're going in the wrong direction. Everything is looking good for Lou so far, but sometimes when it's just going too good, you just never know when it might go left, and B-Rilla might be that character to be his downfall or just keep him from getting where he needs to be. We can't forget that Grandma really is sick, y'all. Grandma got cancer and chemo can't fix it. Oh man. I'm not going to even try to touch that because I know cancer is a beast. Even when you're talking about it being in a movie. But at this point, Grandma's like, I don't know what's worse. The terminal illness and chemo that can't fix it, or dealing with my family. So we know that that's going to happen. Those feelings are going to come out, raw emotions, feelings, how they were impacted by her. And that's probably going to give closure in that sense. And just the investigation tightening up on everybody. So I'm going to make this real quick, y'all. Unique is still out on the prowl. We are starting every season. We see him getting closer and closer to getting his vengeance. I love to see it. The drama, the action, the narrative. I love how they're putting it together. So I can't wait for the next season. I can't wait to bring you another review. Hopefully we'll get better and better at this thing as I get better and better with being behind this camera, because it's really hard, y'all. So give me grace. See y'all next time. Be well. I'm just saying.